The Carmine Camelia was always shrouded in mystery, especially when we got it first mentioned all the way back in chapter 34 with Belladonna Davenport's introduction as the snake, laced with fear and deception, ready to strike when you least expect it. And then the next time we actually hear this name, the Carmine Camelia, is chapter 47. Just 2 chapters away from the finale of season 1, where Cigar Chick, whose name we still don't know, is tied to these characters that don't play too big of a role within season 1. Why was this meeting set up so early? And why did the meeting take 5 entire chapters of the early part of season 2? What are the implications of this congregation of criminals mean for the future of the story? I hope to answer these questions with as much certainty as possible in this video. This will be my first arc discussion for Purple Hyacinth, so bear with me a little as I find the format that best works for this type of analysis/breakdown. Also spoiler free for non-FastPass users, this will cover information up to chapter 59 of season 2. As of when I'm recording this, chapter 60 has been out for everyone. It's been a minute since the last non-chapter review video, but a little rundown for what I got for you today. We're going to start off with some recap of what actually happened in the arc, and that section may not be as relevant for people who have just finished reading it, maybe last week, but it's more so as a refresher for FastPass users who haven't gone back, or potentially someone who comes to this in the future. Also, anything I say is only possible because of the constant discussion I have in the FastPass channel and Fan Theories channel, which is where I live in the Purple Hyacinth Discord server, linked in the description down below. So I will try my hardest to give credit where others have come up with these concepts and theories, but I am forgetful, so please let me know in the comments down below if you had originally come up with any ideas that I present, and I'm more than happy to credit you appropriately. Like and subscribe for more Purple Hyacinth. Every Tuesday is a chapter review for FastPass and, well, also non-FastPass users, since those videos for the current chapters that are available for everyone is technically been up for up to a month in advance. And whenever I get around to theory videos, those are usually later on in the week. There are timestamps for everything in the timeline below, so you can skip around to anything you choose to, like skipping this extremely long intro or skipping through the recap that I'm about to cover. With the intro out of the way, let's begin. So what actually happens in this 5-chapter arc of season 2, starting from episode 55 titled Carmine Camelia to season 2 episode 59 titled Painful Proximity, making up roughly 10% of season 2, assuming that season 2 is around another 50 chapters. We see Lauren's preparation for the Camelia meeting by planting a bug in room 16 when Flemings is having his meeting at around, either the starting was around 10:40 or 11 p.m. at night. In the other vase, we find out that Kieran also planted his bug, which causes interference and ruins the original plan of listening in onto the meeting from 15 meters away using those bugs. Lauren identifies Belladonna as the assassin who killed Harvey, as well as makes the connection that Sake is the associate that will return in Ardhalis in 2 weeks from Flemings' note that Lauren took a look at in the Lonely Traveler's Inn. Since Lauren didn't plant any bugs in the garden area and just in the actual meeting place of the booking that was reserved by Flemings, she moves into the Camelia itself to try to get a listen in on their conversation, and only picks up the part about how Sake was explaining to Belladonna how he used his ex-wife to pin the murder on her for Kevin Cho. Lauren in the meantime evaded the guard that was stationed by using Coco, the peacock, as cover. Sake reveals that Robin Delaney and the Sinclair's driver, Abel Sandman, were Phantom Scythe members at the Annandale train bombing. Delaney has already been taken out, and Belladonna mentions that the driver has been out of touch for over a year. Sake now has targets for both the driver and Lauren, granted that he wants to take out Lauren first. The meeting begins with the messenger arriving out of nowhere, and the attendings are Messenger 7, Tim Sake, Belladonna Davenport, Ryan Flemings, and Cigar Chick, still an unknown name. Because of the Loon's actions, the 7th's pretty upset and the leader has gotten the Purple Hyacinth involved. The 7th is waiting for some assets to arrive and the pieces to line up before starting his attack. Something is going down in 2 months. On February 14th, the official attack will be in 3 months from now, in March. The hideout underground houses all the illegal imported weapons that Cigar Chick operates. Sake has been smuggling nitroglycerin for these explosives. Some of the meeting's information was lost to both Loon and the readers, because Kieran had the same exact plan as Lauren, which caused interference and thus a skirmish, which took us away from the meeting itself. The messenger seems to smell like something and has a tattoo on his forearm, right near his wrist. Loon gets sandwiched between guards and have to make up inside the Camelia where the lady spots them, and they run away into the storage room where the employees lock them in until 3 a.m. when the restaurant finally closes down. Lauren and Kieran are forced to have a conversation because, well, there's nothing else to do, where Lauren realizes that the scenario that will happen in a couple months is exactly the same as the Annandale bombing, where she's the only person who knows something, but not enough to prevent it this time as well. Kieran apologizes for his rashness and promises not to put Lauren's co-workers at harm, even if he's ordered to, which provides some kind of stability due to all the events that have been happening so far. This arc ends with Uncle Tristan looking through the additional information that Lauren has gathered, especially about Snapdragon. So people's definitions of arcs are kind of varied, especially when there's transition episodes, but this little stretch from 55 to 59 seemed like the right starting and stopping point for the Camelia arc. Also, for the first arc of season 2, from 50 to 54, I don't really have a name for it. What would you call it? But again, that's not really the focus of this video. Why did Camelia happen between 55 and 59? The Purple Hyacinth is first and foremost a mystery, and the best part about mysteries is subverting expectations, which of course isn't isolated in this genre, because every good story has twists and turns that are sparkled with foreshadowing. But this story continues to push a conversation, push a narrative that can be backed and supported by the story, just so the rug can be taken out from under us to reveal the real intentions of the characters and the players in this world. None of us expected the finale that we got of season 1, even though after reading it fit perfectly with the thematic importance it holds for the conclusion of season 1. By showing us a flashback and the innocence that was ripped away from young Daisy Crown wearing Lauren 10 years ago at the Annandale train bombing. Lanx puts it the best in her essays that Lauren continues to grapple with survivor's guilt. This idea of never progressing even if time continues to move forward is interesting, and I think the same will apply for this season too. We start off with these setup chapters of 50 to 54 to give us our bearings, right before we tackle the big task as Loon to stop the Nitro bombing in 2 months' time. I wholeheartedly believe that Loon will fail at Radcliffe's reception/circus, as it will parallel the cyclic nature of the start of season 2 of having the deal get called off and them breaking apart as a team. A failure like preventing the bombing and once again reiterating the events that happened 10 years ago will tie everything together for the final act of season 3, where it'll be 1 more month until the true disaster, which is how I'm interpreting the discrepancy between Fleming's telling the messenger that it only takes 2 months for all the shipments to come in and 3 months for the actual main operation. So February will be a test run, which will succeed in another bombing and another tragedy at the end of this season. And there's so many groups play here, from Loon, the Apostle, the Leader, Belladonna, the Phantom Scythe, Snapdragon also, Radcliffe, Circus Royale, the Circus Royale members, Tristan, Athena, etc. JK, Athena isn't really on her own, I think. She's just my queen, so I had to include her on this. Okay, so chapter 54 holds a special place of remembrance right before the arc begins, as both of Loon are preoccupied with the past, as they hold more information than willing to reveal to the other. Lauren finds out about Snapdragon, and Kieran, well, he learns about his humanity and where it's locked away, which was beautiful. But Soph and F use this information to cloud us for the events that were about to take place. Even Lauren tells herself and us to not let this information distract us for the task at hand in 55. No matter what Lauren sets up, as we saw in 55, the plan goes to shambles when unknown variables come into play, like Kieran also preparing for this Camelia meeting, or Sake and Belladonna arriving, which causes Lauren to get fixated and pursue, not only out of curiosity, but also because of a sense of urgency and restlessness. Lauren has always been focused and goal-oriented, which are usually good traits to have, but we see this time and time again, how grief and desperation twist those traits into making Lauren the kind of person she is currently in the story, narrow-minded and stubborn, to only pursuing things that further her cause, as she selfishly tosses aside her duty and her pride to seek the truth about the Annandale bombing for Dylan. This is highlighted with what Belladonna says in 55, or maybe it was 56. If Lauren was smart enough to discover Sake's explosive hobby, she should have been able to figure out how Sake avoided taking the blame for Kevin Cho's murder. But the ex-wife was of no relevance to Lauren's goal, which is why she didn't pursue that thread further, even though Lauren, is the only person who knew that the ex-wife was innocent because of her ability during the interrogation of Sake as a detective. But that's not enough for Lauren to save some lady she has no real connection to, so it's understandable. And all of this Lauren hate isn't really hate, it's just me appreciating the nuanced character that she is and has become over the course of the story. Although her humor parts in the Camelia involved dodging guards and woman handling Coco, it did seem like she was having fun since she wasn't being sidelined by William or the nurse, being told to get rest and not stress out too much to recover. But with the information she has, she can't not just rest and can't relax. Usually when we see these types of injuries like a concussion, the character sleeps it off and is ready for action because a good night's rest can cure anything. And I'm glad that we see the repercussions of injuries taken while hunting for the truth. We also see her vulnerabilities unfold in the storage room of 59 as she recognizes that she's in the same exact position as in the train bombing. Whether it's an hour or now 2 months, the time of knowing makes no difference if she can't even do anything to stop it. The powerlessness of knowledge with the lack of execution is scary, and I'm hoping the authors continue to tease this theme out, which is why I predict failure is inevitable to have that resurgence of Lauren's determination with a more open mind, and I guess maybe not an open mind, I guess a less rigid mind. This is where Kieran comes into play. As a counterpart to Lauren, this arc, we see that both are stuck together as partners because they have the same way of going about a mission because of the time they spend together, and that it is better for them to work together than continuously inhibit proper information gathering as we lose valuable information when the bug devices stop working, as well as the little skirmish that they had, because not only did they lose listening in on more of the meeting, which us, the readers, also lost that opportunity, but also had a pointless fight that could have exposed them to the Phantom Scythe and everyone else. Kieran recognizes the uncertainty and the despair that is consuming Lauren, and so in the storage room, he decided to apologize formally and give her a little bit of hope that he will make sure that no harm will come to her co-workers. The important part of this little proclamation is that Kieran says that even if he's ordered to, a creator of the story just doesn't add unnecessary lines. Every single word is curated and chosen to hone and push the narrative forward, whether it's to add development or growth to a character or for plot progression. This line by Kieran is used as foreshadowing that not only Kieran but others will also go against their orders to do what they must to keep those that they care about safe. A lot of people have pointed out that at some point this season, Kieran will have to save Lauren's coworkers and get hurt to show, not just tell, his apology that he made at the end of 59. But it goes further than this, where Lauren's coworkers will also have to disobey orders to let Kieran get away because of his selfless act. We see the formation of Soleil in 53, and it will be explored even more later in the season on how they are the foil to Lune. But nonetheless, I will always favor Lune because there's more emotional investment for them. Anyways, Kieran will continue to play this role in the story as he becomes less and less like a monster and more like a human compared to Lauren's descent. The Camelia was the introduction to the next tier of Phantom Scythe operatives like Fleming, Sake, Belladonna, and Cigar, as they are not the pawns which believed in civil revolution that the Apostle claimed, because Nitro is not civil at all. I still don't really know why the Cigar Chick was revealed last season, but still doesn't have a name associated to her, because it could have been easy for our authors to just not show her yet, and have Sake arrive at what looks like to be the docks area, with this construction holding a vial of nitro. The main reason of her introduced here was probably that the location that they're meeting is the underground storage area for the weapons, right there close to the docks, shrouded in construction equipment and blockades, which is natural for a place being built or remodeled. This also fits nicely with my running theory that the harbor is in operation of the Phantom Scythe because of the hints that we got through the newspapers of Art Hollis, primarily the betting war for the harbor and lighthouse, as well as the river and harbor law passing. For more information on this, you can take a look at an older video in the top right. This is probably where the red stains of Fleming's clothes come into tying the circus, the nitro, and the docks all together. I'm very curious as to what Cigar Chick's name is because she hasn't been revealed yet. Could it be DL? Is she related to Kim in some way? I don't really know. Sake has continued to play such a sneaky role of playing around with Lauren, causing her to be out of commission for most of the seasons thus far because of the concussion that Lauren received from Belladonna in 48, which, by the way, Lauren doesn't know it was Belladonna that hit her in the head. Sake will have some kind of showdown against Lauren, and this will probably be when Sandman gets reintroduced into the story. Belladonna seems to continue to play both sides, as she's the one person we know of who claims to understand both the leader and the Apostle 7's motivations and plans. But she only plays for the winning side and will probably squeeze out everything she can of the losing before moving on. A real wild card. But then again, we have a lot of moving pieces. There's a possibility that Sake is part of Ansel's group, as Ansel having the picture of the Sinclair's car on him at the Golden Clover kind of raises suspicions that he might have been meeting Sandman himself that night of the Golden Clover raid. There, Snapdragon, Radcliffe, Circus Royale crew, whose side are they going to choose? And maybe these members are a part of something else, but it will be unraveled at some point in season 2, because that's when they were brought up at the beginning. The main conflict in the Phantom Scythe that the Camelia shed some light on is the leader versus the 7th Apostle. That the leader is willing to use the Purple Hyacinth to scare both the 7th and the general public of the power that he wields, which was the repercussions of Loon getting involved in the Phantom Scythe's business at the beginning of the story. On top of all of this, Uncle Tristan Sinclair always seems to be shown whenever there's new developments with the Phantom Scythe, as he's staring at the picture that Lauren put up on her murder board the night Sake comes back. And in 59, we see that Tristan learns that Lauren knows about Snapdragon. What does this Sinclair know, and how is he a part of all of it? Who knows? I'm excited to see the repercussions of the Camelia arc for the rest of the season and the rest of the story. These are just some of my thoughts on it, and of course I didn't cover everything, but let's have a healthy discussion in the comments down below of your predictions, and if any of these thoughts you came up with, please let me know. Of course, to keep it spoiler free for non-FastPass users, since at the time of publishing, only chapter 60 is available for everyone. Thank you so much for listening up to this point. I tried with the visuals, so hopefully it's a little more engaging than just my sexy voice. One big question I have is it worth to have that kind of recap in the beginning, or is that not really needed? Like and subscribe for more. My social media can be found by searching Inspirational on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Shout out to my designer. You can find his work on Instagram at JatinV_photography. See you all next time.